All right, Malhar, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you?
Doing good.
Good, good.
Haven't seen you in a while, man. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, you too, man. I know you've been traveling the country, so it's nice to see you, man.
Yeah, we're on a roll. And then we got I think Nick's popping on here.
The whole crew.
I see him on, but I don't see allow.
Yeah, I was looking for Nick myself.
I just don't see unmute next to his name when I search it. So let's see. Nick, are you able to shoot me a message if you're on here? Let's see.
I'm good. How's business going? While we waiting on everybody to pull in.
For me, things are good. I cannot complain. I'll tell you what, for the first couple of weeks when the shutdown happened, in the beginning, I was like, oh crap, I don't really know what to do. And then I kind of waited, saw kind of how everything was falling out, and I realized I started reading a lot of people. Obviously, if they're not going out, people are spending a lot more time online. So I started posting a lot more videos, things like that. As a result, our business has been on hyperdrive. Actually, from mid-March to about mid-June, we will make more money in that three-month period than we have in a 3-month period anytime in the history of our business. So
Wow.
I cannot complain. We have pivoted really well right now.
So you said you're posting videos. What when you say that, how is that driving business for you? What is it bringing towards you? What kind of opportunities?
So yeah, so I'm a big stats guy, right? So I love to read about what are the statistics of what people are doing. I'm sure many people on this call know the name Gary Vee, right? So and he talks about this one concept that I love, which is we're not all of us at the end of the day are paying for attention when it comes from marketing.
Hold on, your mic just went out.
Can you guys hear me?
Can't.
Yeah. Okay. I think it might be on your side, Dylan. Everyone else is saying they can hear me.
Let me see.
I think it's on your side, Dylan.
Maybe it's mine.
Yeah. So one of the things that I had read was social media usage is up 40%, right? So I'm like, okay, well, that's where if everyone's attention is over there, then I have to be sharing a lot more on social media. So that's what I started doing. Now, I'll tell you what, it's something more newer that I'm doing, and I want to approach it in a systematic format. So I've actually recently hired someone to support me in that. We haven't really gotten it going just yet. However, what ultimately happened is, as a result of me sharing a lot more online, people started hitting me up on Instagram and Facebook. And to be frank with you, I don't have a ton of followers on Instagram, right? But the followers that I do have on Instagram are actually engaged followers. I think people, especially, I mean, I know this is not a social media conversation, but something that I've made a student of myself at in right now is social media and how that works, because I really want to get really good at marketing, because attention is what drives leads and capital. And this business, fix and flip, or any arena of real estate, is about leads and capital. if I were to break it down into two very simple terms. So as a result of that, I've bought deals off of people that I didn't even know that hit me up on Instagram via DM. In fact, I'm about to go look at a property a little bit later today that I might take down because it came as a lead on Instagram, right? Like, and I've spent effectively $0, just a little bit of my time doing something I love, which is sharing my knowledge and also sharing my journey with people online.
Nice.
It's excellent. And I definitely always agree that it all comes down to finding the deals and finding the money, right? And piecing those two together. No matter what type of real estate you're in, it's a capital intensive business, and the more you can do, and maybe you focus on one of them at first and partner for the other, right? But it's definitely the key. So yeah, I think Nick's trying to get back on here. We're just having a couple of Zoom issues here, but let's start to at least, give everyone an introduction here. I know we have Malhar, we got Alex. This is going to start off the fix and flip panel. I know we just heard briefly from Malhar, so maybe Alex, if you want to start off, give us a little bit of your background in real estate and your story and what got you to where you are today.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So my name is Alex. I'm based here in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here like 10 years. So let's just take a step back. Basically, I started in corporate America. I got out of Georgia State University with my accounting and finance degree. Then I went and got my master's degree in tax. And, I used to, back then, they didn't really have podcasts and stuff like this 10 years ago. So I used to listen to Clark Howard, Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey on the radio, driving back and forth on the MARTA and going to college. So that's sort of how I got exposed to real estate, through those three people. And I started working in corporate America, out of college. When I got out, it was when I was going into college, it was like the recession. It was 2007, 2008. So the reason why I did accounting and finance, those were pretty much the only jobs that were hiring then. Because even when those companies were going out of business, they still needed accountants and bookkeepers and CPAs. So I did that route. I got out, I was making 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 85, 90,000 a year. But that wasn't what I wanted. And, I would look around, I would see people next to me, senior managers, directors, corporate America, you have a ceiling, 125, 150, 200, 300,000. It's hard to get past that in corporate America. So, I started off with rental properties. In 2011, I bought my first rental in downtown Atlanta for $11,000. Sounds like a joke, but those were the prices back then. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, Claremont Road, where North Druid Hills is here. And, I eventually turned that into a rental. My next one I bought for $16,000. My next one I bought for $18,000. Those prices don't exist anymore, but the deals are still there. So I continued with the rental model, and I used that capital to then start investing a little bit into flipping. So flipping I did small condos, very small townhouses, and then that led to single family led to doing duplexes, quadplexes, and all while I was working. So I worked in corporate America for like 8 years. And so it is possible to get out of that situation if you are in that corporate America situation. And thank God there's technology now that we can utilize, because I was doing a lot of my flips sitting at my desk at work. I was utilizing the Home Depot delivery services. I was using apps like Thumbtack, Home Advisor. I was sending people left and right to different job sites. I was sending people off of Craigslist. Hey, I need this picked up. Can you deliver it to this job site? So I was utilizing other people while sitting at my desk. So that you have to get into that mentality of building like assistants for yourself. Also, another way that I started engaging other people, as I call my real estate agents, my assistants, is because I would attract them by letting them bring me the listing, take the commission, letting them relist the listing and take the commission again. So use real estate agents as your assistants so they can help feed you the deals. So I'll leave that as my opening. And at this point, I know I'm doing like small multifamily flips, 8 units, 10 units, because I learned how to do that on a small scale with apartments and houses. It's the same process, just on a larger scale, and doing just larger projects, land development. And so I'll leave it at that. We can continue so other people can introduce themselves.
Okay, I don't think Nick's in yet, so we'll just go ahead and continue on. So Malhar, my first question is for you. So what's your opinion on the current market with COVID and, I mean, I know with me personally, I kind of took a step back from flipping because there's so much uncertainty in the future. So how are you still running your operation?
So yeah, great question. Obviously, that's a question on pretty much everyone's mind, and it's like hitting a moving target. We don't really know where the heck the target is, and we're kind of throwing darts against the wall. What I always go back to is, what do you know for certain? And what I certainly know right now is listings and inventory is substantially lower than it was a year ago. I mean, I tell you guys I'm very much a stats guy. So, looking at the statistics, right? Again, inventory in the Atlanta market is down to about 2.8 months of inventory. That is very constricted inventory. As a result, and especially COVID being there, right? Like the looky-loo buyers are not out right now as much. The serious buyers are out right now. I listed a property for a colleague of mine on Thursday because I'm a licensed agent as well. We had 18 showings in 24 hours. We are currently under contract. And typically we would have waited this weekend, but I was like, this is going to be crazy and it's going to get way out of hand. Also, we need to be able to substantiate the value of the property. So if someone pays us $100,000 over list, which you might think it's crazy, it's happened to me once before, but then I got brought right back down because of the appraisal. So I told my client, I was like, listen, I think this is a great offer. Let's utilize the fact that it's a popular property to actually get them up even more, which is the strategy we utilize. So, I mean, we're under contract well over list on this property. And it's just, like I said, serious buyers are out. So on the retail side, I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. The types of renovations we're starting to do now is a little bit different than what we were doing even 3 or 6 months ago. We tend to do major gut renovations, tear down, build new, all that stuff. But those tend to take, 6, 9, 12 months, sometimes even longer than that. I think your biggest risk in any market cycle is market timing. You can't control the market. I don't care how big of a real estate investor you are, hedge funds, whatever, right? You can't control the entire market. So if the market were to shift on you and you had too many properties on your plate during that time frame, you wouldn't be able to get out as quickly as you'd hope. And real estate generally being way less liquid, it's an illiquid asset, right? It's going to take you a while to get out of a property. So I'm, selling a half-done property, which many investors tend to do from time to time because for whatever reason they ran out of money or had a bad contract or a bad experience, hard money lenders coming due. Most investors come in and they see it as, hey, it's hunting season, right? Let's see how low we can get this sucker. So I'm a firm believer on selling completed properties. So I say all this to say the types of properties we're working on are those that we can get in and out of in about 3 or 4 months because I don't have control of what the heck the market's going to do. We're, unemployment extra benefits run out at the end of July. So what's going to happen in August? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, right? Could it be extended? Potentially. Might it not be extended? Potentially. So right now I have a moving target. If I have too many properties on my plate that are large scale renovations, I might have my hand caught in the cookie jar and I might get screwed with too much property on my plate.
Nice. What about you, Alex? What do you think about the current market?
I'll say currently the market for the price point of $250,000 and under, that market is on fire. Everything we've put out that was in that price range, we can't keep that inventory. We're getting multiple offers above asking. So if you're just beginning and you're getting into this, I would strongly advise pick up those deals between the $100,000 and $150,000 price point. Buy those. Then you leave yourself. My formula is always $100,000 spread, $50,000 for the renovation, $50,000 for the profit. So with that formula, if you pick something up for $150, you can still put $50 into it and you can still unload it for $250. The first time home buyers, they're looking in that price range. It gets a little more difficult, 450 and above right now. I'm seeing it's harder to unload that inventory. It's still moving, but very slow. So the other benefit in that price range under 250, you can always exit. Worst case scenario, it's a lot easier to exit those properties because you can turn them into long-term rentals. So that's why I have no fear at all in the 250, especially 200,000 and under. All day I'm turning those into rentals. I'm still covering my debt service. So I would say that market is still fine. So the COVID obviously scared us, but I don't know how it's going to affect the FHA market because they're increasing the requirements there for the credit score. And I've seen some loans requiring higher reserves for people also to maintain. So we have not seen the full impact of this yet. It's going to come in Q3, Q4, beginning of Q1 of 2021. So that's why we're still cautious, but all day we're buying in that lower price point. Our exit is turn it into a rental because it's going to cover our debt service in that price point.
Gotcha. So how are you funding your deals? What's your favorite source of funding?
You see, it's hard to talk about funding because when you've been doing this for 10 years, basically like I have, somebody who's new or coming in, they can't really get the kind of funding I'm getting. Some of these deals, I'm not putting any money of my own money into these deals. I'm having a hard money lender fund the deal. Then I'm having a private lender fund the rest of the deal. So I'm putting no money down. It takes time. That does not happen. But the way I started off traditionally when I first started flipping, and when I started, some of these programs didn't even exist back then. Like right now, I'm utilizing Lending One, Lending Home, CoreVest, all these lenders where you apply with them, they extend you a line of credit. So for example, my line of credit right now, just to give you actual numbers, 8.5% interest rate. Around 1 or 2 points. I can get that all day from all my lenders. So the funding on that side, when I started, I took advantage of all the promotions available. I would open up those 18-month credit cards from Chase. I had one Chase card that gave me $40,000. I would do my deals with credit cards, the Home Depot accounts, the Lowe's accounts. I got creative. Nowadays, I don't really do that kind of stuff, but I would say one thing for people starting off, open your LLC early because I got a lot of lines of credits from local banks, but that requires you to have 2 years of your business tax returns. So that's going to help you out. It's going to give you a big boost. So for example, one local bank, I have a $250,000 line of credit. The interest on that line of credit right now is around 4%. The money is basically, it's like free money. It's the cheapest money I've ever seen. Pre-COVID and the market's going down, I was paying 7.5% like that. So work on, the credit score is huge and your business tax returns, your business income. So you have to show. A lot of business owners write everything off just to avoid paying taxes, but then you're hurting yourself on the lending side when you try to go and get a business loan. So be smart about how you're doing this. And also while we're here, some people said they're still working corporate America, utilize your paychecks, utilize those W-2 paychecks. They're like gold. When you get rid of those W-2 paychecks, you're nobody. In the eyes of the bank, you can make $500,000, let's say cash. You can make $500,000 with a W-2. It's not comparable in the eyes of a bank. So use that W-2 income smartly now to buy rental properties, apply for loans, build your business credit, get your 2 years of LLC, look at the credit card promotions, see what they're offering. There's times when Home Depot's offering 12 to 24 months, no payments on transactions. So use all these techniques to get you the boost that you need, because once you do 1 or 2 of these deals, then you're going to start building a little cash reserve that you won't need to think out of the box.
Nice. I think we got Nick Davison on. Nick, can you hear me?
What's up, man?
Man, what's good, man? I'm glad you was able to get on.
Yeah, me too. I don't know what's going on. Can you guys see me or no?
No, we can hear you.
Oh, you can?
No, we can't.
Oh, you can? Okay. I'm trying to see if I can jump on real quick. Give me a second.
Okay. While you're doing that, I'm gonna direct this next question to Mahar. What about you, Mahar? How are you funding your deals?
So yeah, like Alex, we have raised quite a bit of private capital ourselves. Actually have some larger investors that said, hey, I basically they were like, I'm tired of signing quick claim release forms and payoff letters. Apparently they were too busy to do that, which, hey, I didn't mind. So they said, here's a whole bunch of money, right? I want you to create an LLC, you manage it. So I don't mix money, right? But they just gave me a large amount of money. They put it in an LLC, 7 figures, right? I'll only do this if I have like a 7 or greater figure investor. They put it in an LLC and they basically made me the manager. We had built so much trust and integrity, I've paid back every single one of my investors on every deal that we've ever done. We've done over 400 in the last 12 years. So it's like, you create a track record, right? So most of our deals up until COVID happened, we were funding them privately, just because we have that private capital available to us. And there's still plenty of private capital on the side. But recently what I did is I told my investors, I said, hey, I still want to utilize your money. So I'm going to hold on to it, but I'm not going to deploy it just yet. I want to hold on to that money because I believe, like, Alex said earlier, 4, 6, 12 months, we don't know when the impact of this is actually going to hit. And I speculate that it's going to be in the next 6 to 12 months. So we're going ahead and we're holding on to that money. And now I've actually started going to some hard money lenders again. So that I can continue to develop those and foster those relationships. So actually we closed on 3 deals yesterday and I funded all of them through hard money. And I did that on purpose. And the reason I did that, like I said, is because I want to develop a strong track record with those people, but now I have even more capital to work with. So I have several hard money lenders that I'll work with now. Again, I get similar rates to Alex, some a little bit better, some a little bit higher than him, but all in that anywhere from 7 to 9% range. And then, typically it's 1 point or less. And then my biggest thing, I negotiate with hard money lenders. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul. I'll go to someone else that wants to work with someone who knows that they're going to get their money back, So that's kind of where we've been funding our deals. Like Alex said in the beginning, what we did do, we would open up credit cards like him, and then we would do balance transfers, promotional balance transfer rates at like 0% interest for 12 months. We would use that money as down payments for some of the hard money that was out there, and it allowed us to actually get some of our first few deals done that way.
Okay. So Nick,
Yeah.
Your video's working now.
I'm here, dude.
Yeah. So I want to. I know Nick does. He's real big. He's a real big flipper out in San Diego. He's done over 500 flips. Nick, if you want to, let everybody know a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get right into, some questions.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm Nick Davison out here in San Diego. My family grew up in real estate. I remember collecting checks when I was 8 years old, knocking on doors with my dad. So I thought, hell, that's a nice little living for when I get older. So that was my passion in real estate. And then in the early 90s, they lost it all. They were way over leveraged, and then times got tough. So there was, I was staying at friends' houses, living in hotels. I even lived in the van for a little bit, and saved and sacrificed, worked any job I could, mowing lawns, washing cars, doing what I could, save some cash. I made about $30,000, bought my first house in 19 with an aunt and uncle of mine, and then I got ripped off. So I had to start over, came down to San Diego. I'm from the LA area originally. Worked in commercial framing for about 4 years, stacked cash, saved that up, bought my first house, my second house there. And in 32 days, I made a net profit of $68,000. One house turns into 2, turns into 5, turns into 10. My best year, I did 75 houses. That's a combination between wholesales and flips. 500 houses later, I've done some apartment buildings. I've done syndications. I've lent money, rentals. And now, I would have anywhere between 20 and 25 flips going on at a time about this time last year. And then I've switched my gears a little bit to doing more smaller apartment buildings here in San Diego. And I'm doing coaching.
Nice.
So that's it as fast as I can give it to you.
No, that's good. That's good. So how do you manage 25 properties at once? Like, what's your system? You got to have, that's got to be a mean system that you're running with 25 flips. I
You know what?
be running one or two.
Yeah, honestly, it's I just again keep it simple, right? So it's really not that hard. It's just about every time as you're finding something that works, you write it down, create a system, and then you're training somebody to do that system. And again, as you start to move and you have a staff, you're just managing the people, right? So, you know, people run systems, runs businesses. So honestly, I would just say, I don't know what the demographic of the crowd is on here, if there are a lot of newbies or more experienced guys, but I just don't want to overcomplicate anything. Excel spreadsheets work wonders. I mean, I actually know a lot of guys that sell their systems and they've got this, you know, program or CRM or whatever, but they still run their business on Excel. So I would just say, don't get overwhelmed with, you know, it being that complicated. It's really not. It's we make it more complicated than it needs to be.
So how you finding your funding?
How am I what?
How you finding your funding? How you funding your deals?
Yeah, so I fund my deals with hard money loans. I've got two guys, one out of Arizona and then one guy up in San Francisco. They're both hedge funds, and you know, the rates on the single family side are 0.5 point, and I pay 7.25%. They'll lend me 75% of the purchase at those terms. And then if I want to get 90% of the loan to value and 100% of the rehab, they'll do 0.5 point, and then they'll jump it from 7.25 to about 8.25. But again, that comes with the, you know, the experience and the volume. You got to just show these guys you know what you're doing, and they'll throw you money all day long.
Right. One of the issues that I had when I'm flipping my houses is dealing with the contractors. So tell me, like, how do you deal with your contractors? Like, how do you pay them? How do you keep them accountable? How you keep for running off on jobs? Like, tell me, like, what's your system?
Yeah, that's a good. Sorry, who you directing that to?
I was directing it to Maha, but go ahead and we'll go to.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, man. There's a little bit. If you guys can hear some noise back here, let me know. But yeah, that's the most challenging position I feel. That's the one position we've had the most turnover with. So I have one project manager, and he manages 5 to 12 different general contractors. It's just a hard position to fill. And on the general contractor side, we have guys that we've been working with for years, and some guys can take on one job, others can take on 5. And then after a few, they get a little greedy. They want more money. And I'd say one little thing we like to do is I like to keep them, hold them accountable by putting penalties in place. So for every day that the job is not done, we charge them between $250 and $750 a day, depending on the size of the job.
Nice. So you put penalties in place. And what was that number? Anywhere from 250 to what?
750.
Oh, okay.
So basically what I'll do is I'll just see what the hard money cost is per day, and I'll double it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Maha? How you handle your contractors?
So for us, we actually brought construction in-house about 5 years ago. My wife became a licensed general contractor. We kept running into issue after issue with contractors. I mean, we kept doing successful deals, but there was always leaks. I look at them as like leaks. And it was leaking budget, leaky. There would be more money spent. There would be timelines that just weren't like tight timelines. Things weren't moving smoothly. We'd fail inspections, all that stuff. They half the time they wouldn't have certain subcontractors, etc. And no matter what we paid, in the beginning, like everyone else, we were like, oh, cheapest is the best. Well, that was a short-lived thought process. But then we started moving to more expensive contractors, and still we had the same type of issues. And so ultimately what we ended up doing was we said, screw it, we're going to run our own projects. And that made a massive difference, because once we started running our own projects, I mean, we build houses, we can get ground up construction done in about 4 months after we get a permit. So, and that's because we understand what that process entails, right? My wife, Danielle, She runs all of our projects now, and she's very well organized. She's the one that's the organized one in the family, whereas I'm like very much the idea guy. I help out on the acquisition side, the sales side, the financing. So as far as managing our projects, we utilize a tool called Asana, and we built out templates throughout that, where literally every single step of the process is in there. And so you can create timelines and Gantt charts, which basically have dependencies based off of certain work being done or not. And then we have her, and then we have a on-site supervisor, and then we have a crew of guys that work for us as well. And then of course she has a whole bunch of subs. And the cool part about what she's been able to do is we don't have contractor problems like ever anymore, because she's developed relationships with subcontractors. I'd say our newest subcontractors probably been with us for at least 3 years. So every single one of our trades, they know how we work. We have a very specific system. They can rely on getting paid. A lot of contractors, they want money as soon as they're done, right? Well, we said we can't do that because we're running 15 to 18 projects at a time. So that's not going to work for us. We're going to pay you on Fridays. And so we created a system for them to follow. Now they can rely. They know, hey, if I'm done by this Friday, I get paid next Friday. And so like clockwork, their money's always there. And so if they can rely on it, now they're more inclined to take on my project versus the next guy's, because construction labor costs has gone through the roof because supply and demand, right? So there was a much higher much higher demand of contractors than there was supply. And so as a result, pricing had gone through the roof. With us, now, even if the next guy is going to pay a little bit more, the next investor, they still come to us because they know that we've built a relationship. I mean, the underlying tone of this entire thing is relationships, right? Funding, relationships, acquisition, relationships, contractors. I mean, now it's relationships for us.
Nice. That was pretty. Would you say that was one of your best moves, to bring construction in their house? Now you don't have any issues. You just kind of simplified your own process, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we know what it costs down to price per square foot for different types of houses. I could tell you what it costs price per square foot for us to do a house with a brick house with a basement. I could tell you what it costs us for a new construction on what type of lot, all those. And then we maintain very specific KPIs, or key performance indicators. And what that allows us to do is to gauge how successful we are on every single deal, and then basically translate that to future deals as well.
Gotcha. What about you, Alex? What's your how do you handle your contractors?
Well, first of all, for everyone, whoever deals with a contractor, every contractor says they know how to do everything. So first of all, that does not exist in this world. When you're new in this business, it's like a fairy tale. You meet a guy and you bring him to a house. You talk about plumbing, electrical, air conditioning, roofing. Stay far away from those guys, first of all, because it's not possible. Very rarely have I seen somebody who can do a roof that doesn't leak, install my HVAC, and do my plumbing. So be careful of those people. Second of all, the relationship is huge. These guys are just like me and you. They have families, they have kids, so like clockwork, the payments are there for me on Friday. No excuses. I will leave family dinner. I will do anything I have to before the bank closes to make sure they have the deposit. I will make sure I'm able to give them a deposit in multiple forms: a check, Cash App, Zelle, Venmo, PayPal. I'll make sure if I'm in Cancun in the middle of the beach, I can pay the guy on Friday. These people become so loyal to you that for my rental business, when I have any problem, these guys run to my job site. If all of a sudden something happens, they run. Why? Because you create this loyalty, you build the relationship, and these people want to work for you. Again, this may not end up being the cheapest people, but there are people who will get the job done, are reliable, and you can continue moving them to other job sites. The other thing about contractors is, you get into this whole issue of do I pull permits? Do I not pull permits? Is he a licensed contractor? Is he not? So you have to make that internal decision for yourself. How are you going to run your business? Are you going to run the business 100% legitly, pulling every single permit? Because nowadays, every single job site, basically you need a permit to breathe. You're doing a new roof, you need a permit. You're doing some places, and it varies from county to county to county. Some counties, when you're doing a cosmetic renovation, you may need a permit to do that. So you have to figure out what kind of an investor, what kind of a business you're going to run, what kind of insurances you're going to have. So that's an internal decision you have to make. And off of that, then you can base your what kind of contractors you're going to hire. So, for example, I hired some painters on an apartment building that I owned. The paint oversprayed from the wind and the paint went onto the truck of the next door neighbor. So imagine a building like 500 feet away, but it was such a windy day that this thing covered the guy's truck in little white dots. The guy I used did not have insurance. He did not have any kind of insurance. So this guy went after me. His insurance went after my insurance. So, we have to settle the claim. So you have to be aware of there's consequences of using contractors who are licensed or unlicensed. Yes, it may be several $1,000s cheaper, but the guy falls off the roof and he has no insurance. What are you going to do? So you have to be aware. It's a very important thing that nobody thinks about, but these things are real life situations that can get you in liability hell. You will be sued so far up and down from all the damages that you will not be in business. So be aware of these aspects. But dealing with contractors, the main thing is, like I said, they're human beings just like me and you, providing for their family. And just, it's all about relationships. And, there's nothing wrong with, I give my guys bonuses at the end of the year. So, sometimes most contractors nickel and dime you for change orders. Oh, I want to add an outlet here. My guys don't do any of that, because at the end of the year, based on how our business went, they know I'm going to give them $5,000, $7,000, $10,000. So try to, give back to them also, not just paint job was $2,500. That's it. See you next time. Just, maybe remember when their kid's birthday is and get them a bike for $50 at Walmart. Just small things that you can completely change your business, and you'll see that completely, because you're going to be treating them completely different than anybody else in the industry is.
Nice. That's a great perspective right there, Alex. My next question is, so what's the difference? I know you and Nick, you all also flip small apartments. Is there any difference in your system from when you flipping a single family to flipping a small apartment?
So the small apartments, you get the experience in doing the small renovations, such as the apartments, condos, townhouses, then houses. Then you bring that same experience and stuff to organization to the multifamily side, where over there, sometimes, again, depending on where you're at and what kind of permits you need, sometimes it's a commercial job. So the plumbing may be a little different, or the electricity may be a little bit different. But other than that, it's sometimes it's even easier to flip these small apartments, because you're just replicating. You're literally replicating unit by unit. So it's actually, everything's under one roof. So it's basically house flipping on steroids. The profits are, you get a zero added at the end, and the expenses to do the projects, there's zeros added at the end. But the main concept and process would be the same as single family, I would say.
What about you, Nick?
Yeah, so I just say the main difference for me when I was switching over to the apartment side was just, instead of looking at this as a business where we're buying something at one price and selling it as someone's emotional opinion on what they want to buy it for, it's all about the income. That's what drives the value of the apartment, right? And it comes down to the small things like we've created, spaces out of the apartment buildings where there was carports. We put garages, rent those out for $75 a piece. And, then you're dividing it by a cap rate. And that cap rate will then determine the extra value that you've created. So I'd say on the bigger scheme of things, is you don't necessarily, increase the value of a house by reducing your expenses and increasing income. It's just all about your net operating income that comes in every month.
Gotcha.
the income side is sort of hard. So you have to make a decision if you're going to be selling the building with tenants in it, or you're going to be selling a vacant building. So sometimes I would purposefully put in 3, 4, 5 tenants in order to show an example, because it's easier to show that these people are already paying $950 a unit as opposed to me selling a vacant building. So be careful there also on the presentation side, on the exit, how you're presenting it to the market. A vacant building sometimes looks different than a little bit occupied building.
Gotcha. Malhar, I see you just, I saw on your Instagram that you just bought 3 houses, 3 flips side by side. What's your plans for that?
Actually, I'm not planning on flipping them. I'm planning on holding them. So the interesting thing, I believe I'm a student for life. I can learn from everyone. So one of the things I studied a lot is the zoning code in the city of Atlanta. So I bought 3 houses side by side. Each one is a duplex on an R4 lot. In the city of Atlanta, an R4 lot only allows for single family. However, this is an existing duplex, so it's grandfathered in. The other thing that's very interesting is that last year in January 2019, City of Atlanta approved you to build accessory dwelling units on R4 lots, which used to not be allowed. So the way my thought process was all right, I got 3 duplexes side by side, and I could add 3 more units on each lot. So now technically I could have 9 units on 3 lots. And oh yeah, by the way, it's right across the street from the West Side Beltline. So I looked at it as like, all right, this is a long-term play for me. So I was thinking about, hey, do I still want to buy this deal with the current economic environment? And because it was a long-term play for me, and I know that I'm going to cash flow real sweet on these deals, I decided, yeah, let's buy it anyway. We're going to do a full-on makeover of the properties. They're currently, each unit is 1-1. We're converting them into 2 1s each unit. And we expect that we'll be able to rent each one for about $1,000 to $1,100 a month. So we got to make good prices, decent prices. So
good. How did you find those?
We work with a fair amount of wholesalers. A wholesaler brought it to us. Someone that we had known about in the past, and he's always, to be frank with you, a little bit higher price than I would like. But because I've actually never bought properties from him before, because he's just a smidge higher than I would prefer. But I was willing to pay a little bit more on these just because of the location. I believe that, they're not making more land inside the city of Atlanta. So, I bank on that, right? I bought many properties between 2008 to 2012 that have literally, my best property has gone up over 800% in value. And it's been cash flowing for me for 10 years, and the rents just got raised. And once this person actually decides to move out, if she ever does, we plan on tearing that house down and building a new construction house that we could probably sell in that neighborhood now for probably about close to $600,000. And I bought that property for $30,000, so that's the power. That's what I believe the real power of real estate is equity building over time.
Most definitely. Dylan, you got some questions from the audience?
Yeah, we have a few questions from the audience. Great stuff, guys, so far. We have, starting off, Omar, you had a question about the market and the heat. Basically, how is the market still so hot amidst COVID and everything else going on? So, Omar, if you want to unmute yourself and ask, I don't know if you're still there or... If not, we'll go ahead and read it off. So the question was, how is the market staying so hot even though we're in the middle of COVID right now? Because you guys started off, Alex and Malhar starting off talking about Atlanta market and the prices that you're seeing still getting offers on. Oh, there he is. You want to expand on it?
Yeah. Basically, what I wanted to know, and hello everybody, is we are in the middle of a critical situation, and everybody has different expectations. And so still the news are that the housing is a hot market still, and by what you have said, it's a proof of that. So how do you explain that it's still hot with all these contingencies that we are going through?
So I'll start off and say my theory is there's two things happening. So remember, in flipping, everything is market specific. So me and Malhar are in Atlanta. The job growth, I mean, the last several houses I rented and sold were to people coming to Atlanta from different states. So the amount of people in Atlanta who are incoming is huge. So they're all looking for housing. My second theory is that this year, due to COVID, the retail market got thrown off cycle because we used to wait for the schools to end. The schools ended a lot earlier this year. So I saw families starting to move in transition a lot sooner. So usually this would be the hot time right now, May, June, July. But I feel like we picked up these buyers who were going to be moving anyways because of different school districts and stuff like that. So I would say your market has to be, you need an expert in your market to see if it's the same as it is here that me and Malhar have seen. Nick is in San Diego. What is the market like there, Nick? Is it the same, selling houses right away?
Yeah, it's hot, man. And it just comes down to inventory. It's just every house that we've got, it's going 10 to 20% higher than what we expected to sell it for. I mean, I've got a buddy I was just talking to yesterday who does probably 40 properties at a time, and he's making $100,000 higher than what he expected to sell it for. So it's crazy.
If I can share one more thing, is money's cheap still, and it's incredibly cheap for retail buyers. I don't know if you guys read recently, I saw an article that one of the biggest wholesale mortgage lenders in the entire country just reduced their 30-year fixed rate. You used to see these rates for 15-year fixed. 30-year fixed rate in 2.5%. That's insane.
Wow.
That's stupid cheap, right? That's never happened in history. So it's if it's that cheap to buy a house, now the guy that could only afford a $250,000 house all of a sudden can afford a $325,000 house, right? So money is a lot cheaper also. You add that to inventory levels are incredibly cheap. So buyers are still incentivized to keep staying out in the market, and liquidity has not run dry yet. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but right now it's still free game.
Good, thank you.
We had another question from Sid. Sid, are you there? Sid? So Sid was asking for Alex, actually. Alex, you spoke about local banks and lines of credit, and Sid's there in the Atlanta market, want to know if you have any recommendations for local banks to connect with.
So the process for local banks, so first of all, forget the big banks. Forget Chase, Bank of America. These guys will never look at you. They don't even want to hear your name or see your face in there. They're focused on institutional clients. So you got to work 3 levels down from that. Second of all, every single bank hates real estate investors. They still have the pain from 2008, and they can't get this out of their mind. You can show them you made $1 million last year and the year before. They don't care. So you have to be a little sneaky and a little tricky about when you approach these banks, about how you approach these business lines of credit. So for me, what did I do? I literally opened up for a couple days, local banks. They come up, you call them. The local banks at least give you access, and they put their contacts on there. This is Vice President of Lending. This is his email. It's a lot easier to reach the people at the local banks. So I would call them, email them, walk in, and you need to make a little credibility packet for yourself. First of all, these guys get 100 people walking in the door asking them for money. You need to make a credibility packet of who you are, what you did, what you plan to do. You look a lot more professional when you hand them a folder or you send them a PDF document. This is what I want to do. This is what I've done. So then the local banks, the way it works is some of them have portfolio lending. What does that mean? That means that they lend out their own internal money specifically allocated for real estate projects. You need to find and identify these banks in your community. Next, you tell them what you're trying to do. Now, this is where you have to be a little tricky because, again, they hate real estate investors. They still have the pain. So I told them that I have 30 rental properties. I have house flipping. I'm doing new construction. So you have to present it in a way where your risk is sort of diversified. So they know that And, you know, for me, in my case, it was true. I did have all of this stuff. So when they said, we're going to give you a line of credit, what are you going to use it on? I would tell them, when I do a new project, I would buy lumber, I would buy HVAC, working capital, inventory, pay the guy. So you have to break it out basically for them. But then over time, the first time I got it from a local bank, a business line of credit was $50,000. You know, now it's been like 4 or 5 years and it's gone up to $250,000. So as you keep paying it back and you keep working with the vice president of lending, they have a review board where they review your profile. And what they hate to see those clients who withdrew the entire balance and they just sit on that balance and they just pay the minimum payment. So that's the trick here. You don't want to withdraw that balance and just keep paying the minimum payment. You want to use it and pay it, use it and pay it. And then you become in there, because actually on the back end, they showed me the technology. They had all of this is data driven for them. They have charts and they have everything tracking the way you're using their money. So you have to be smart about how you're using their money also. They hate for you just to take that money and just make the minimum payments. So those are some advice I would give you guys.
No, that's great, man. That's some great advice, especially dealing with the banks that I did not know. So we'll definitely be having a conversation offline about this. I think we got another question. Alex Jacobs. Dylan, can you unmute Alex? He got a question for the panel.
Yeah, can you guys talk about how you're setting up the payment schedule and handling the materials, the labor? Like, is your crew getting the materials, and then are the contractors just showing up to the job? Like, how does that work?
Anybody want to take the lead on that?
So for me, all of my guys who work for me have a credit card, or if I don't know them that well, I just have a registered pro phone number with Home Depot. And when they take out, they call me. And, you know, nowadays the technology is so advanced, they even text you. They text you what they're checking out for. You can see the pictures, you can see the quantity. So if you're just starting out, make sure you get a Home Depot Pro account. It's free. That way, that also saves all of your receipts. It tracks, it allows you to check out via text message because you have a registered card and you can approve the transaction, which is very convenient because you could be in the middle of a meeting and they're calling you, but you can't answer, but you can approve it on your phone. And, you know, when you get to a certain threshold with Home Depot, like for me, I have a managed account now where I just call one specific person, they deliver everything, they waive all the delivery fees. So you can work with Home Depot and Lowe's and these people. Everything is negotiable, you know, so work with them. Tell them if you're working a couple projects in a specific area, go to that store manager, go to the manager of the pro desk. They have a separate manager for that, and tell them, look, we're going to be doing X amount of dollars. We want it to come out of your store. Remember, those store managers get paid salary plus bonuses for their compensation. They're incentivized for you to buy out of their store. So you can work out all kinds of deals for them. And even I've worked out deals where my guys come, they're giving us a discount because they know we have X amount of dollars that we're going to spend out of there. So other thing, what I do, I go to all the Home Depots and I make myself known. So whenever they have any clearance items, they call me. That's huge because you can save tons of money. Sometimes they just need shelf space. So they're clearing out tile, laminate. So vanities. So make sure you make those connections also, your local Home Depot.
So Alex, so when Home Depot is calling you with these sales, are you hoarding per se materials in a storage unit, or?
Yeah, I have a storage unit because it's sort of take it or leave it. You have to take all 3 pallets of this color. And, you know, sometimes the deal is so good, I'm going to take it because I'm going to use it in a rental, or I'll find a basement space to use it if it's an ugly color or something. So, yeah, for me, it's been a huge benefit to get a storage unit. I mean, they're in Atlanta, they're like $150 a month for 200 square feet. But, it's very helpful in the flipping business to have one of those, I would say.
How are you paying your contractors, Alex? Are you paying them like 50% up front every week? How does that work?
I won't even give them a penny up front if they need to go get gas. I only pay on Fridays when work is completed. Never. Rule number 1, every story you hear is because people paid up front. If the guy coming to your job claims they don't have enough gas to come to your job site, you don't need to be working with that contractor because those are the guys who are basically going to take your money, from my experience. I only pay on Fridays, not a cent early.
You know, that's nice. That's a good rule of thumb. What about you, Nick? When you doing all these, when you're doing 25 flips at a time, how do you pay
Yeah.
up?
I want to do nothing. I don't want to get a phone call from anybody. I don't want to go to Home Depot. I don't want to go pay any credit cards. I don't want to accept nothing. So what I do is I hire the general licensed bond and insured contractors that know their scope of work, right? We build out the scope of work, and then we build out the payment schedule. And they're broken up into benchmarks, right? So after the demo is done and a little bit of framing, cleanup, trash, whatever, they'll get their first benchmark. And it's let's call it the job's $50,000. We're going to break it up into like 10, 15% payments. And when they're done with that, they'll get a check. Now, I used to be on a schedule like Alex, where we'd have it on Tuesdays and Fridays. We'd cut checks. But we noticed that I was slowing things down. There wasn't an incentive to have these guys working faster. So if they start on a Monday and they get their first benchmark done, all the demo, maybe a little bit of mechanical framing, et cetera, they're done on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, then we cut them a check on a Tuesday or Wednesday. And then they go through the next phase, the next benchmark, which is framing, plumbing, electrical, HVAC. If they get that done by Friday, then we cut them their next check. So I want to deploy that money as fast as possible. But again, I'm not paying that check until they get that done. And we'll verify it two ways. One, when I was managing my own jobs, I would go out there, and if I couldn't get out there, if it was a new job, I'd get out there every time, right? If it's somebody that I know and trust, I'd have them send me videos and photos. Because again, I want to focus my time being in the office. The more I spend out in the field and doing their job, then, I was told, a long time ago, the second I pick up a hammer, you're starting to make contractor wages, right? When I'm in the office, I'm making investor wages. So I want to stay with the investor relationship activities. And the other thing I'd say, just for specifically with California, which at first I thought was a downside, but it's not. It's actually good. We're not allowed to supply any materials to the contractors. I'm not allowed to give the direction to any of their subcontractors of how I want them to do the work. My communication stays with the general contractor, and that's it. It doesn't mean that I don't go out there and ask questions and do my thing, but those are the two ways that I make sure it's efficient. They stay on target, they get paid quickly, and like I said, I mean, we flip 1,500 square foot homes, kitchens, bathrooms, carpet paint, landscape, etc., windows all, in 21 days. 30 is the target, but we'll hit them between 21 and 30 days.
So if you're doing 4 rehabs in 21 days?
4 rehabs in 21 days is our target, but it ends up around 30 days.
Okay. And by you using a GC, does that take your cost up, but you get a return on your time? So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I feel like that was just it's a beginner's mindset. So at the beginning, if you're going to save, most contractors out here want to make between 8 and 15% return on the job. So call it $50,000 job. They want to make 10%. That's $5,000. Am I going to spend my time, my limited time, to go and manage and help manage these jobs and pick out colors and whatnot? Or am I going to just continue to focus on what I do best, which is find money and find deals, right? And then nowadays it's just a lot of operation stuff. So I would say at the beginning, you got to do what you got to do. You got to learn the business. You got to learn the trade. But it's really hard to remove yourself from doing those activities. Mm-hmm. You don't want to. I mean, Robert Kiyosaki said it best. If you want to be rich, be lazy. If you want to be wealthy, be incompetent. Do nothing, right? Allocate it all out. So,
well, I would say that Nick is on an advanced level. I mean, coming into the business, for the people who are new, you don't want to operate like that, because, some of the stuff that you're doing on the field and on site is what builds your battle scar or wounds, and which makes you more experienced for your other projects. If you just give everything off to a GC, you're going to have people blindsiding you all day because you don't know anything. The way I learned the business was because I was on the job sites. I never swung a hammer or I don't even know how to swing a hammer or install anything. But you need the experience so that when you keep getting bids later on, your experience, and you understand what an LVL beam needs to go. You understand how framing needs to be done. So I would say in the beginning, you need that experience, on the field experience. Yes, later when you scale to 25 deals like Nick, yeah, outsource everything out to GCs and see your profit margins come down on your flips. But that's fine because you're focused on volume. But as soon as you, get basically, when you get a licensed GC to handle the entire project from start to finish and you're not acting like a sub, it's guaranteed your margins are going to come down. But in the beginning, the margins don't really matter. The first, second, third, fifth deal aren't going to make you rich. You need to learn the process, the business, what materials to use, how to space utilization, how to convert 3 1s into 3 2s. And so you need to have this vision, and this vision comes from being on the field, I feel like. Not just sitting in the office and doing nothing. I mean, raising money, you don't need that aspect. I feel like you need to learn the business first if you really want to be in it long term. Then focus on raising money, raising capital, taking meetings at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. That's later on.
Right, right.
So Nick, if you were to start from the beginning, would you use his approach, or would you outsource from the start?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and don't get me wrong, like I mentioned, I did commercial framing in the beginning, but I made a lot of mistakes. And I'm not saying you should skip the process of being in the field at all. Mm-hmm. You do learn that, but I feel like a lot of people get stuck there. So,
right.
It all depends on what you want, right?
Right.
I want to make a shit ton of money, and I don't want to work that hard for it. So leveraging your money and leveraging your team and your people is where you want to be. So you want to, like I said, that's just what it is. It's all about what you want.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, we're coming up on time here. So we have one more question. Malhar, if you want to bring it home here from Vishesh, we have, where do you continuously find new GCs for additional projects while scaling up?
I mean, I don't anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, maybe you're not the best guy to answer that one, but
yeah. But I'll tell you what we were doing in the past. We used to go to Home Depot, Lowe's early in the morning. Like, organized contractors, they know their stuff. They have a list of materials they need. What we used to do is I used to go hang out early in the morning at a Home Depot or Lowe's, 6, 7 in the morning, and just network, right? Like, I'd walk up to people and be like, hey, are you a general contractor? They'd say yes or no. And then I'd write down their information and say, hey, is it all right if I call you later? Because I respect their time, right? I'm not going to have a 30-minute conversation with a contractor that's getting his stuff organized for the rest of the day. I don't roll into Home Depot at 9 or 10 in the morning because the GCs that are there over at that time, they're starting their jobs late, right? I want a full day's worth of work. That's one place we found GCs. We found GCs at permitting departments. So sometimes we used to just hang out at permitting departments. And, typically who's walking through there? Many of them are permit expediters, but many of them used to be GCs as well. So at least they're going to be licensed and insured if they're standing there, right? Because that's a requirement to get a permit. So that's another place we used to find GCs. The other thing is, in the world of social media and technology, you can probably find a lot of general contractors through Facebook groups, and then also your network, right? Referrals from other people. Those are 4 ways that we found some really good contractors over time. But nonetheless, I mean, I have 2 schools of thought on the previous question because I think it still applies here. I agree with both Alex and Nick. Nick does have that experience. He's telling you that he had commercial framing experience. He's been on job sites. He understands how a house is built, right? Same thing with Alex. That's important for us also, for me also. I don't ever go on job sites anymore, but it's important for me to understand that because guess what? I'm going to hand it off to my GC, who is my wife, but she has to have an idea of what the heck I was thinking before I decided to buy this property that I can convey to her, and she can actually get it done in the budget that I'm asking for. So yeah, I'm kind of toting in the middle between them 2.
Awesome stuff. Well, where can everyone get a hold of you if they have other questions, if they want to connect with you? I know you guys are, make yourselves pretty available with putting content out there and in some cases coaching. So what's the best way for everyone to reach you?
So for me, you can find me on these handles right here on Facebook and Instagram. I'm just on a lot of Zoom calls these days, so I just made a background that took me about 10 seconds, and now you can find me online.
What about you, Nick? Nick Davidson Flips on Instagram?
Yeah, that's it. Nick Davison Flips Instagram. It's the best way to get a hold of me.
Yeah, and Nick is he's into coaching too. So if anybody's interested in coaching with Nick, definitely reach out to him. I think he has a lot of
happy to answer all questions. I'm an open book, man. There's nothing that's not a secret.
No problem. Alex, Transformation